Hey guys, Brett Weiss here. Welcome to another video. If you're new to the channel, please hit that subscribe button as it's super helpful. So I got cool news today. Intellivision has signed an exclusive deal with the Harlem Globetrotters. Yep, fan. This is a documentary on the team. Grew up a big Harlem Globetrotters fan. Intellivision has signed an exclusive deal with the Harlem Globetrotters to bring a basketball game to the Amico at some point. Now, rumor has it, and Tommy seems to have verified this, that the game is going to be over-the-top arcade style, not unlike NBA Jam. Some really cool 2-on-2 action, and I'm a huge NBA Jam fan. Those are just two of the games in my collection. Tournament Edition for the Super Nintendo and for the Saturn. That just scratches the surface of my NBA Jam fan. Big NBA Street fan as well. I love arcade-style basketball, and I grew up a big basketball fan. Huge fan of the Mavericks, the 76ers, back in the Dr. J era, and a huge fan of the Harlem Globetrotters. Loved that team growing up, and this was during the golden age of the Globetrotters with Meadowlark Lemon and Curly Neal, Goose Osby, and all that kind of, all those guys. That was the heyday of the Harlem Globetrotters. And it was so disappointing to me when the game came to the NES, or when a Harlem Globetrotters game came to the NES. And here's the page from my NES Omnibus book. And it looks cool, right? Cool box art, cool screenshots, but it just didn't take proper advantage of the licensing of the Globetrotters. It just doesn't have that feel, that great. The Globetrotters were crazy on court, Curly Neal sinking three, half-court shots, Meadowlark Lemon doing all these antics. Meadowlark was kind of the leader of the team along with Curly at the time when I was watching them. But just anyway, the Globetrotters are super fun because of all their on-court antics. I mean, they're great players. Not sure they could beat an NBA team, but, all their trickery and just, they're messing with the refs and with the crowd and everything. And I actually got to go see the Harlem Globetrotters as a kid, which was really a rare event for us because, growing up in a suburb of Fort Worth, Texas, we rarely actually went into Fort Worth. Now, I had a good childhood growing up, spent a lot of time playing arcade games, of course, and, had a lot of fun in the neighborhood, a lot of friends, and my brother-in-law had a lot of cool adventures. But for whatever reason, my parents just never wanted to go into Fort Worth. So as a kid, I never went to the stockyards or the Fort Worth Water Gardens or hardly any of the other, tourist attractions in Fort Worth where the West began. We did go to the zoo when I was very young, but hardly anything else. We never just went and walked around or ate at restaurants there. We never went into Fort Worth, maybe a handful of times at the most. We would pass it by it on the way out of town sometimes, like to see relatives or whatever. But we just never went into Fort Worth except for one magical night. We saw the Harlem Globetrotters at the Tarrant County Convention Center playing their rivals, the Washington Generals. Now, of course, the Globetrotters destroyed them. This isn't real basketball. This is the Washington Generals are just their patsy. But it was so much fun, and I had such a great night. It was so cool to go downtown Fort Worth, to go to the convention center, and to be surrounded by the skyscrapers, these big buildings. It just wasn't something that we did hardly ever, being just in a little, just a small suburb of Fort Worth with, sort of out in the country and everything. And that was a magical, magical night. And I just grew up watching the Globetrotters on TV and everything, and that was so much fun. And I was just a basketball fan, and I was a big fan of Dr. J and some of the other players that would play, with fancy moves like finger rolls and fancy dunks and everything. The Globetrotters were just sort of like an outsized extension of that. So much fun to watch. And the night at the Tarrant County Convention Center, watching the Harlem Globetrotters did not disappoint. But I was so bummed by the NES version of the Harlem Globetrotters game because it just was so lame, and it just did not take advantage of that license. It just didn't have the feel or the playability, what you might think a Harlem Globetrotters game would have. So anyway, I'm super psyched that a Harlem Globetrotters game is coming to the Amico. How awesome will that potentially be? Again, I don't know it'll be a great game, but I'm definitely going to check it out. And it's, if it's half as good as NBA Jam, then count me on board. All right, guys, let me know in the comments what Intellivision Amico games are you guys looking forward to And are you a Harlem Globetrotters fan? Let me know in the comments. I would love to hear about it. Did you ever see them play live? Anything with the Harlem Globetrotters or the Amico, comment please. Thank you guys so much for liking and subscribing and doing all that awesome stuff. We will talk to you in another video. If you're a fan of my work, you might want to consider supporting me on Patreon. For just a low fee each month, you get a lot of extra content. Another way to support the channel and my writing career is to buy books direct from me, including the 100 Greatest Console Video Games, the Classic Home Video Game Series. It's like an encyclopedia set. And this massive bad boy, the NES Omnibus Volume 1 A through L. I will put links in the description of this video where you can buy books direct from me and where you can support me on Patreon. Thank you guys so much. I really appreciate it.